رمضان رمضان رمضان.
If you want to be a Muslim, you have to believe that God is the only creator. We Muslims are true monotheists. We believe that there is only one God, one creator. And because no one else creates, He is the only one who deserves to be worshipped. We believe that everything, without exception, happens by God's will. Nothing occurs that God did not will to occur. And so, we the humans do not actually create anything. Say I get a job at a factory, for example, making cars. I might be the one who puts together the car. I lift the wheels and I put them on the axles. I lift the door, I put it on the frame. I put the steering wheel in place, and the gas pedal, and the brakes, and the engine, and the glass. And when all is said and done, I can say I made this car, meaning I put it together. But who in reality is the one who created the car? Allah, God. Because each and every one of my actions happened by His will, and He created it. He is the one who willed for me to put on the tires and put in the engine, etc. And had He not willed for me to do those things, had He not created those actions of mine, I would not have done them. And had God willed for the car to be without me or any other person putting it together, then it would have been so. Because God has the power to do whatever He wills. And so the creator of the car in reality is Allah Ta'ala. The belief that God is the creator of everything and that no one else creates and that everything happens by God's will is explicitly mentioned in the Quran in multiple places. Allah said, هَلْ مِنْ خَالِقٍ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ, which means, is there any creator other than Allah? This is a negation in the form of a question. The answer is obvious. No, there is no other creator. Allah also said, إِنَّا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَاهُ بِقَدَرٍ, which means we created everything according to destiny. Yes, Allah refers to Himself in the Quran as we, because in Arabic the plural is often used for glorification, and not because what is meant is that there are multiple creators or multiple gods. This ayah means that everything is created by God and that it is predestined by Him, meaning that everything that occurs according to His will, which does not have a beginning or an end. Allah Himself does not have a beginning or an end, and His attributes as well are eternal and everlasting, like the attribute of will. Allah also said in another verse, وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ, which means, and He created everything. These verses are explicit and they are broad. They apply to all created things. Anything which came into existence, began, existed after non-existence, must be created. And the one who created it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now here pay attention. Anything that has a beginning is created. And those ayahs are referring to everything. Meaning that the actions of the humans, which have a beginning, are also included in those ayahs. Meaning that Allah created them as well. The human being does not create his own actions. Allah said in the Quran, وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ, which means literally, Allah created you and what you do. If I go to work in that factory and put together that car that we mentioned previously, all of those actions are created by Allah. I did not create them. They were created by Allah and they were predestined by Him eternally, meaning that He willed for me to do those things, and this was always His will, without a beginning. Just as He always knew in eternity, without a beginning, that I would do those things. It's not like He decided one day that I would do those things when before He was undecided. No, we do not attribute Allah or His attributes with having a beginning. If it is His will for something to happen, then it was always His will and His will does not change. So to be a Muslim, you have to believe that Allah created everything, and that includes the actions of the human. And you have to believe that everything happens by the will of Allah, and that includes the action of the human. Now here, let us make another point. When we say Allah creates our actions, that means all of them without any exception, both the good and the evil. When we say that everything happens according to destiny, it is all predestined by Allah. That means everything, both the good and the evil. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith narrated by Al-Imam Muslim and others, الإيمان أن تؤمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر وتؤمن بالقدر خيره وشره. Iman is to believe in Allah and His angels and His books and His messengers and the Day of Judgment, and to believe in destiny, both the good and the evil. This hadith is very clear and very explicit. Both the good and the evil happen by the will of Allah. In the past, around 1,000 years ago, more than 1,000 years ago, a group of people emerged who contradicted this fundamental belief of the Muslims. And they claimed that the human beings create their own actions. Some of them claimed the human creates the evil actions only, and some claimed that he creates all of his actions. And by doing so, they fell into shirk, which means to associate partners to God. They deviated from the belief of the Muslims that there is only one creator. And so the scholars of their time deemed them as non-Muslims, despite the fact that they used to claim to be Muslims. This group were known as the Qadariyah or the Mu'tazilah, among other names. They denied the idea of destiny, that everything which occurs is destined and by the will of Allah. Now they did that because of a misunderstanding. They thought that attributing Allah with creating the evil deeds of people would be attributing Him with injustice. Now it is true that we Muslims believe God is just, and we consider objecting to God or attributing injustice to Him as blasphemy. Allah said in the Quran, وَمَا رَبُّكَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ, which means, and your Lord is not unjust to His slaves. But here's the thing. We Muslims do not consider creating the evil deeds of the slaves to be evil from Allah. First of all, Allah is God. He is the Almighty, the one who deserves our worship, the ultimate extent of our humility and submission. He is not judged by us or anyone else about what He does, and He is not questioned. He does in His dominion whatever He wills, and no one has power over Him. It is our place as His creations, His slaves, to submit to Him and not to object. Second of all, what is evil? We creations cannot determine the good from the evil just based on our opinions and reasoning. What is evil is whatever God revealed to His prophets and messengers, alayhimussalam, as being evil. And what is good is what God ordained as being good. And that is a fundamental tenet of the religion of Islam. All Muslims know the story of Ibrahim and his son Ismail. Ibrahim is known as Abraham in English. Allah ordered Abraham to sacrifice his son Ismail, to put him to the slaughter. So Ibrahim set out to fulfill what he was ordered to do, and his son Ismail went along with him and helped him, even after his father informed him about his purpose. Because both Ibrahim and Ismail were prophets of Allah, and the prophets of Allah are obedient to Allah. But when Ibrahim ran the knife across his son's throat, the knife would not cut by the will of Allah. And Allah revealed to Ibrahim that he had fulfilled his obligation and that he would be allowed to sacrifice a ram instead of his son Ismail. Abraham was obligated by God to slaughter his son, meaning that for him at that specific time, that action was good. Yet, for one of us now to do the same action, namely slaughtering your own son, is considered by the laws of our religion, the same religion as Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, to be bad. Why? Because Allah ordained that for Ibrahim at that time it would be good, and for us in this time it is evil. Because when Ibrahim tried to slaughter his son, he was following the orders of the Creator. So he was doing good. But if one of us were to do the same, we would be disobeying our Creator. So it would be evil. A person cannot determine that that action, sacrificing your own son, was good for Ibrahim but bad for others, just by using his mind. Rather, we need revelation to determine that for us. So Muslims consider evil or injustice to be that which goes against the commands of the one in charge, namely Allah. Evil can only occur from a creation. Someone who is commanded to do certain things and forbidden from doing other things. As for God, no one commands him or forbids him. If they did, then he wouldn't be the Almighty. He wouldn't be God. So when God creates the evil deeds of his slaves, this is not injustice from him. He is God. He does whatever he wills. He is just, and we the slaves, who only have our sustenance and blessings because he gave them to us, are obligated to be patient. Now, does the human being have a will? Does he make choices that he is accountable for? Absolutely. God did not give us the knowledge of all things that happen in the future. He knows what will happen and what we will do, but we don't. So by our measurement, in terms of what we see, in front of us is a blank slate. There are good options and there are bad options. And we were commanded to take the good options. So we must direct our will towards them and avoid the bad. And if we find ourselves doing that, then we must thank Allah, because that is a blessing from Him. He willed for us to do that. And if we find ourselves taking the bad options, then we should blame ourselves and seek repentance. Because even though Allah is the one who created those bad deeds of ours as well, Allah is God, the one who created us and commanded us to do the good and blessed us with all the comforts and blessings we may have without being obligated to do that. So the human being has a will, but our will is created just as we are created, and our will is under the will of God. Allah said in the Quran, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ, which means, and you do not will for anything except that Allah, the Lord of the universe, willed for it. Long story short, the human does not create anything. Only Allah creates. And this issue is fundamental to our religion. The one who rejects it is not a Muslim. The issue of destiny is one that we must believe in and understand properly, but at the same time not delve too far into like the Qadariyah or the Mu'tazilah did. They rejected a fundamental part of the Islamic belief because they delved too far and became confused. The Muslim should believe in destiny and that Allah is the only creator, that He creates the human and his deeds, as came in the revelation to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all of which agrees with the reasoning of the sound mind and does not contradict it, without delving further into the issue. This is why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إِذَا ذُكِرَ الْقَدَرُ فَأَمْسِكُوا, which is narrated by Al-Imam At-Tabarani. This means if destiny is mentioned, then restrain yourselves, meaning restrain yourselves from delving too far in to the matter. May Allah Ta'ala make us firm believers and among those who do not stray from the path of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah Ta'ala knows best.